Good evening. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Kathy, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Cowie.
Here.
Chairman Grumhaus.
Here.
Alderman Novit. Here. Alderman Woodman.
Here.
Alderman Moore.
Here.
Alderman Morsch.
Here.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Here.
Alderman Luby.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Kathy. First item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on January 18th, 2011. Any comments or edits?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a consideration of a resolution to adopt the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund Early Retirement Incentive Program. I'm going to lead the discussion on this, although Kathy and Bob have certainly done the lion's share of the work on it. For the past 6 months, city staff has been looking at ways we can undertake a financial restructuring in the city to try and take down some of our costs. Tonight, we are going to ask the council to move forward with this restructuring. Lake Forest has a long history of long-range financial planning. It's something we've tried very hard to do. Historically, it's something certainly in my tenure as chairman of finance that I've spent a lot of time on. Somewhat interestingly, obviously my involvement with city government started by participating in a long-range capital financing initiative around home rule. But we believe this restructuring will allow the city to dramatically cut our costs and allow us to project a balanced budget through 2016, which is really saying something given the pressure we and all the other communities have been under. The core of this restructuring will involve offering early retirement to qualified employees. Following initial conversations, we believe over 20 employees will opt to take this early retirement. We are very confident this restructuring will not only have minimal effect on city services, but that it will also have a very beneficial effect on employee morale. Next slide, please. We have been very aggressive over the last few years in trying to implement cost savings for the city. I'd like to think that we have been ahead of the curve on this. Certainly we've been ahead of the curve versus Springfield. Nevertheless, even with these efforts, we still are facing a budget shortfall going forward. This slide sort of lays out the gap. We've managed to stay balanced these last couple of years, but the gap is projected to grow worse. This is largely the result of higher pension and health care benefits, as well as revenues that are largely tied to CPI, which is obviously quite low right now, and also obviously the real estate and housing has caused pressure on the capital budget as well. We believe the solution is obviously to go forward with this proposed restructuring. We believe this restructuring, next slide, will give us annual savings between $345,000 a year and $775,000 a year. We believe total savings over the next 10 years should total over $5 million. And we expect those savings will continue beyond the 10 years, but for conservative reasons, we've left it at the 10 years. Another point I'd make here is that we think we're being conservative. There will be a trickle-down effect here. As employees are replaced, we're only basically including the savings from the initial employee replacement. Obviously, as we promote employees up, there's going to be savings all the way up and down the line. So we think the savings will even be greater than this. We'll also see, obviously not captured in the city budget, but a significant positive on water rates. We have been forecasting water rates to increase 5% annually. We now think that rate for the next 3 to 5 years will be only 1 to 3%. So that's a meaningful savings for citizens as well. In terms of background on this, one of the drivers of this was the new pension reform that was passed by Springfield, passed last spring and became effective on January 1st. This essentially set up a two-tier pension system and a much less beneficial pension system for new employees. So to the extent that we can move employees from the old system to the new system, pension costs are about 38% less when we do that. So obviously with this early retirement program, as older employees retire and we hire in new employees, we will capture that savings. And that's a big help here in terms of driving it. Some background on the early retirement program. This has been in existence through the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund for almost 15 years. The program is open to employees who have 20 years of service and are age 50 or over. We believe over 20 employees will take advantage of this program. Per IMRF laws, these employees will be credited with an additional 5 years of pension service. Given the 20 that we expect to take advantage of this, 3 major departments within the city will be pretty significantly restructured, and those are Public Works, Parks and Rec, and Finance and IT. As I mentioned, we'll also see some changes in the water plant as well, and the water fund as well. We really think the benefits go beyond money here. Obviously, money is a big driver of this, but we also think it really represents the opportunity to get an infusion of new ideas and talent. We have a number of employees who've been with the city a long time who have been moving up the ranks, and we believe are ready to step into greater roles, and we think that will obviously happen with this. We also think it will give us an opportunity to do, it really brings us a lot of the succession planning that we've done over the last few years and puts that into play. We also think it will allow us to take advantage of new technologies and outsourcing further as we get some of this turnover. And as I said at the outset, we really do believe this will have minimal impact on resident services. Our goal is obviously that residents don't notice this, and even better that we get some new blood and services improve and get some new productivity as we get some new ideas in. We're essentially repositioning the organization. In summary, I think this is a real win-win approach to the reorganization for both the city's financial condition as well as for all employees. It really does put us in a very good long-term, financially sustainable position. I will say the likely participants in this have obviously been very loyal and long-term employees of the city. And we don't, we're going to see those employees leave. It won't be easy to see them go. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of loyalty, and a lot of them are people who certainly the council and certainly the staff has worked with for a long period of time. So, we don't do this lightly. Nevertheless, changing the guard is inevitable in the next 5 to 10 years anyway, and the opportunities to do it now are really compelling. So with that, we've obviously talked about this some as a council and executive session, but I'd be happy to take any questions, and obviously Kathy, who's the real expert on this, is there as well to answer any additional questions.
I'd just like to follow up and thank Alderman Grumhaus. You spent an awful lot of time on this. It's a very intricate financial computations that go into it. Certainly Kathy Reinerson, Bob Kiley, and Deshay, they're probably the core group. And basically the employees, this is something that I know Bob and I have talked about for the last couple of years about how we reposition the organization going forward. And I think as David just expressed, this is an opportunity for both sides to benefit from that. And we certainly do want to thank the 20 plus individuals who have been here over 20 years, who have given their hard work and dedication to the community, because they certainly made the community what it is today, and we're very confident in the individuals coming up behind them will fill those shoes very well, and they've been groomed for quite a while, and I know they're ready for the opportunity that presents itself. So Again, I think it's a very well-thought-out plan. It's a good plan for the community, and I do think it will be a win-win for both sides of the organization. So, again, thank you for all the hard work that went into it. There's an awful lot of time and effort, a lot of meetings, a lot of time, and I know this is probably the only thing Kathy's been crunching numbers on for the last number of months, so thank you for your efforts.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I mean, I think I congratulate you as well. These are tough programs to put together, and I think that we've done a lot of financial analysis here, and it shows the present values, savings to the city, and I think we need to be proactive here, and I'm glad we've taken on this tough task early on as we were able to do it, and I think we'll be a lot better off, as you can see from the projections in the out years. So thank you, Mayor and David and the staff for really tackling this. No, it's not easy.
Yeah, David, it goes without saying, because you're leaving in May, we're positioned for another 5 years, and you've put us in a good place to endure whatever happens with the economy. So this is something going forward. It's a win for the city, so it's appreciated.
Thank you. There's a resolution in the packet adopting this. I guess we should get approval here, and then we'll approve it again at City Council. Is that, Vic, is that the way to go here? Okay. So if people don't have questions.
To accept the resolution.
Second.
We need a roll call, or can we just do a?
That could be a voice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And again, thanks to Kathy, who has spent countless hours on this, countless days on this, months, not only having to run the numbers, but then have to explain them to me and answer all my questions and do all my sensitivities and try and wrestle through the help that IMRF in Springfield provides, which is very little. I can say that she has more expertise in this than anyone in the state right now. So if we need more revenue, maybe we'll hire her out as a consultant here and to other communities who are likely going to follow us on this. Next item on the agenda is city-owned facilities and city-supported organizations. Bob, you're going to take this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This document really was prepared following some discussions related to Gorton and the city's obligations with respect to Gorton and some other institutions and groups in town. And we tried to put together here a simple but comprehensive matrix that outlines the responsibilities that we, the city, have to these various organizations, number one. And number two is, at the direction of the City Council, we are now, you'll notice the second from the right column, the Audit Committee review, is requiring more of these foundations and other quasi-governmental groups to regularly appear before the city's Audit Committee to review their financial condition, review their financial report on an annual basis. So there are no, hopefully, surprises down the road with respect to any of these other institutions. This document here is really put before you as a draft document. If there's other information that you would find helpful, if there's questions that you have, we'll be happy to try and answer that. But our sense is that we will have this as sort of a regular review during the city's annual audit or annual budget review, and so that we can keep it not only up to date but also fresh in everybody's mind as to what our obligations are with respect to all of these various institutions. So with that, we try and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has or fill in any blanks.
How are these reflected in our financial statements, Kathleen?
The organizations that are with us would be the Deer Path, Forester, Enterprise Fund.
Right,
and
right.
CAFR. Also, the train stations are within the general fund. The rest of the organizations are not within the city's financial statements, but we will be receiving, we have requested their financial statements for the audit committee to begin reviewing at their July meeting.
Okay. Thanks.
Are any of these organizations allowed to borrow money from the bank without notifying the city? with the implication that the city would be responsible for the money? It didn't, right when I began, I mean, I'm just new here, but didn't that happen with Gorton last summer? We discovered after the fact or something. I think it was the first meeting I was in. Is that, or did?
Well, I'll try and answer it two ways. One, yes, they're able to borrow money. Two, it does not necessarily have to be the obligation of the city. And with respect to the Gorton Foundation, if the city wanted to just simply say, we're walking away from this, legally we could have. Because there was no city dollars or city property that was collateralized against the loan itself. We have had in the past some that we have put up city assets that we have backed bonds and so forth, but that would require official action by the city council in order to do that.
Just one add-on to that. For some of these organizations, there are long-term leases or something equivalent to leases that they can post as collateral, but the collateral is only going to be to the extent of their rights. So if their rights were to expire, so too does the collateral. So it doesn't revert back to the city, but it's something that might be used as a basis for loan. If I remember, it was actually the senior foundation had done that, and they paid off their loan, so it didn't make any difference. But that was one issue or instance where the interest that they had in city property was part of the collateral for the loan, but it was limited by the interest that the senior foundation had.
Is there any de facto obligation? It seems like there was with the Gorton Foundation. We would have covered it because it would have been the right thing to do.
Again, the city has, on some limited occasions, been brought a proposal where it would actually back it, and that would be an action of the city council. In other instances, the city would have no legal obligation, and it was just a question of what would be viewed as the best interest of the community in terms of moving forward with the proposition.
Then I guess the question is, anything preemptively that we could do to avoid those awkward situations or whatever you'd call them? Is there, and you don't have to answer it now, but I mean, it's something to think about.
I think in short order, we do regulate it through any kind of arrangement we might have with these organizations to the extent that they have any interest in property that the city owns. But a number of them, going down the list, if you look at, say, the Croya Foundation has no interest in any city property. If they take out a loan, that's their business. The understanding with the Croya Foundation is that they're a fundraising organization. They've done things for the benefit of the city, but they don't have any particular interest in city property.
So the foundation members understand that someone's on the hook for this, right? If there's no property and...
Yes.
Yep.
I guess my question is, when I got here last summer, it seemed like somebody did something that we didn't know about, but we would have had to cover it. All I'm saying is I think it'd be while this is getting organized, it'd be a good idea to add a column and say, or could we ever stop that from happening?
And I think with respect to Gorton, you had no legal obligation with respect to their line of credit. I think it would have been obviously a blemish on the community if it had defaulted and going forward, and so I think that's where we stepped in, and knock on wood, fortunately, we were able to retire that without any contribution of the city whatsoever. I will say that going forward, what we did was, in putting those documents together, going forward, that the city is going to be notified anytime there is a draw on that line of credit in the future. And we also reduced significantly the ceiling or the amount of the line of credit as well. So I think part of the idea of sending these forward to the audit committee is to keep a better handle on them year in and year out as to exactly where they stand, and making sure that they don't get too far afield of what the financial policies and direction is from the city council.
I think one of the impetuses for putting this together was, let's make sure we have a sheet where we know, we have it well organized and city council's aware of where the obligations might lie and where some of the things are. And I think, one of the things where we have buildings involved is we're going to be more forceful in making people give us financial statements, and, you know, I think most have generally done that, but that's, you know, one of the things that we're going to want to try and see.
So do we have any policy or procedure that requires these organizations to give us their financial statements with some regularity? I know we invite them to come once or twice a year to give us updates of what's going on. Do we get their financial statements then? Do we get them anytime with any kind of regularity?
There was no formal policy in place. We just have notified all the institutions or organizations that are on this list that this is something the council has asked us to do going forward. Fortunately, we haven't had anybody say no. Everybody has agreed to cooperate with the audit committee and the city council going forward. I don't know if legally there would be a way, you know, again, staying with the Croya Foundation as an example, that we could compel them to do that if they wanted to. But I think generally, and I have to think, well, let me emphasize that up until very recently, this community has been very blessed with so many organizations and foundations and institutions raising a tremendous amount of money for city and quasi-city organizations. But I think that we just need to tighten up the rules and regulations a little and just provide some of that oversight. And that is now going to be a regular requirement that we'll send them a letter notifying them, again, you need to provide this. And as Kathy mentioned, because of the timing of when most not-for-profits get their CAFR, that we'll be putting this before the audit committee in July of each year.
And I should add that for a number of them, I can tell you offhand that we have agreements in place regarding use of city property. We do have obligations that they have to report to the city. I don't know that that's a uniform item for those that don't have agreements like that with the city.
Bob, I do feel like this chart, there's a little bit of an apples to apples question I have, in that, you know, when I look at like the Croya Foundation and the Senior Center Foundation, I mean, Croya and Senior Center are part of the city, right? And it's the foundation that lies out of it.
Right.
But the building is city-owned and part of the city. And then, you know, I look at the Historical Society building, right, which we say doesn't have a foundation. But the Historical Society does have some sort of foundation, or the Historical Society itself is a nonprofit with a fundraising aspect to it. And so, you know, I guess I'm wondering whether stuff that's really part of the city, like Croya and the Senior Center, and Deer Path should maybe be in and even Ellowa for that matter, should be in a different category than some of these others. I mean, you know, Ragdale, we own the exterior, and we own the building. We have a long-term lease with them. We really have no involvement with it. You know, Croya, we're setting the budgets on, and, you know, hiring the employees and doing that type of thing. And there's obviously a foundation that works alongside of us. But that to me seems, you know, I feel like we're mixing things a little bit here.
Okay. Well, we could certainly break that up into another category.
Yeah, looking at that with the Croy Foundation, I would think that the Rec Foundation would be listed the same as Croya, and the library, Friends of the Library, because they're basically just raise money and donate it back into the program. I mean, the Friends really don't run the library, maintain the library, you know, all they do is raise money, and I think that's like the Rec Foundation and really the Croya Foundation.
Okay.
I mean, the organization name might be Croya or the library, and then just the column that says foundation, yes, might be the way to do that.
Sure.
Anyway, I think it's worth looking at, because I do feel like we're mixing things a little bit here.
Okay. We'll try and break those out.
Okay.
Get you another set.
Any other questions on this? Okay. Moving on to other business. First item would be the flash report, which you all received. Numbers continue to look good. Maybe not quite as good as last month, but we're still well ahead of budget. Kathy, sales tax seemed to come, Kent was asking me, and I didn't have the answer. Sales tax versus budget came down a fair amount. Is that more a budgeting issue, or is it?
Yes, it was more of a budgeting issue because we budget for the Matawa sales tax payment in the month of January. We actually just received it today. So the correct variance is now a positive 80,000.
Okay.
So we're back in line.
Okay.
Yes.
5% of sales tax. It didn't make sense.
Correct. So you are absolutely right on there. It was received, and so we are basically in the same position we were last fund.
Okay. Any other questions on the flash report? Always nice to see those coming in positively versus negatively. Any other business? Opportunity for the public to address the Finance Committee on Finance Committee agenda items? Anyone? Okay.
I don't know if we want to do the lighting for the rec and kind of
Yeah.
get that
We've got
underway
some
now.
time.
Public Works is sort of getting in on your business.
That's all right.
We'll let the Public Works Committee go.
Want to do the presentation on the lighting contract?
You could do roads too. I don't know what.
We could do road, we talked a lot about roads too in the past. We ready to do that one?
I think he's talking to you.
We could
I
do
like-
roads. We could do roads or gyms, whatever's easy.
We'll do this one first, it won't take long, then we can do roads.
Good evening. Tonight, staff is requesting City Council, or Finance, will be Finance Committee at this point, authorization to award the bid for the lighting replacement project for the Recreation Center's Gymnasium and Racquetball courts to Ridgeview Electric Incorporated. The Recreation Center currently has 65 400-watt metal halide fixtures. 35 of those are in the gym, and another 30 are in the racquetball courts. The metal halides are 25-plus years old, take a long time to warm up and restrike, and the older style fixtures create shadowing and glare, resulting in poor light coverage. The proposed new high bay fluorescent lighting fixtures are more energy efficient, use approximately 40% less of the electricity of the 400-watt metal halide fixtures, have less light depreciation, and will be able to turn on in an instant and have no restrike problems. So, and they also have a longer lamp life. In addition, further savings will be achieved by installing lighting relay controls in the gymnasium and room occupancy sensors in the racquetball courts, so the lights will only come on when needed. As you can see from the bid tab provided, on February 8th, staff received 6 bids. After reviewing the bids, staff found that Ridgeview Electric proposal met the project requirements. The funding source for this project is from the FY 2010 bond issuance budget for $35,000. Therefore, staff will be recommending to award bid to Ridgeview Electric in the amount of $31,700. And in addition, staff is requesting a 5% contingency for unforeseen problems during the project. Can answer any questions.
Do we have any references on Ridgeview?
Yes, we had 7 references come back, and they were all favorable.
And the savings, ComEd pays all our electric, right?
At that particular facility, yes.
Did we look at all at whether there are any grants from anyone, or even particularly from ComEd, to offset some of this? I mean, I know it's not a huge amount of money, but we're going to save them a lot of money by doing this.
In the past, we have been looking for grants. None of them would line up with the gymnasium and.
Okay. But we did ask ComEd whether they had anything, and they didn't have anything.
They have a rebate program up to $10,000 right now. I
Excuse
don't
me?
know if it applies to the gymnasium, but there's a rebate program for upgrading your lights
for up to $10,000.
Yeah, when you're under the franchise agreement, you've kind of fallen under a different line, so
Okay.
we definitely looked into that, but since
We did look into it, okay.
But savings-wise, the maintenance, et cetera, on these, the bulbs will last longer and things. So I did ask that question at the Public Works. There will be a significant savings overall to the city in maintenance, et cetera. And they also, the lights, when he talked about the restrike, meaning that if somebody turns it off and then you go to turn it back on and
Takes
you wait,
forever, right.
these will rapidly, they'll go right back on again. So, as well as they don't have to go into a back panel room and turn on the lights. They'll be right there by the door so that they can turn them on quickly. So it'd be a nice safety issue as well for people in the center.
Okay. I'm sure we'll vote on this at council. Oh,
We'll vote on this at the council level.
So do we expect the lifespan of these fixtures to be the same 25 years as the old ones? Because that's a pretty good return on your investment, $31,000 for 25-year life.
pretty many, most of the components in there can be replaced and
Depends on
retrofitted.
technology.
So, yeah.
They move ahead to good LED lighting in 10 years, that might even be a far bigger savings and worthwhile to make the change. There's a lot in lighting that's taking place right now that is incredible. So we hope they last, or they'll be profitable for that many years.
So you also get a better quality light for a longer period of time. The metal halides quickly begin to deteriorate and you lose quality of light, where these tend to stay quite a bit longer.
So when you're playing handball, you won't lose the ball in the shadows.
Well, that won't be my problem.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Okay, do we want to do the roads quickly?
Sure.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Finance Committee. What we have in front of you is the 2011 annual resurfacing program. Due to the MFT funding this year, we're going to be using the MFT funds to fund this program. As you recall, in the last fall, we came back to the council and gave a 5-year resurfacing list, and to keep our payment rating at 76, we budget around like $2 million per year for all our resurfacing programs. And we get anywhere from $600,000 to $7,000 per year on MFT funds, and MFT funds can be used in, if you use it for resurfacing program, it provides better bang because you can paperwork-wise and the documentation-wise, inspection-wise, to follow up on this MFT funds, it's much easier to deal with IDOT. So as part of this program, we are going to use MFT funds to do the annual resurfacing program. One of the aspects of this program is that IDOT requires us to do a resolution to appropriate these funds so that it can be taken out from our bank. When I say bank, the City of Lake Forest Bank with the IDOT, so that they can appropriate $1.7 million towards this program. And then we're going to go ahead and do all the contracts and bidding, and then it's going to be bid on IDOT letting. So IDOT will bid the job on behalf of the city, and then we collect the bids and we'll come back to the council for a contract approval. The other change this year, which we have noticed, is like as part of this municipal partnering program, which we have mentioned in the last 2 council meetings, we are joining forces with Highland Park and Lincolnshire to do a joint program, again, to get the economies of scale and also take advantage of the proximity of the two neighboring towns. So this year, the total estimate is around $3 million for all the 3 communities. We hope to, again, go out to bid in March and start construction sometime in late April or early May with this program. So at this point, we are seeking recommendation to approve this resolution for this 2011 annual resurfacing program.
What's the balance of the MFT fund right now?
The last statement I saw, I think it's around $1.5 million.
In the city's MFT fund or in the IDOT MFT fund? The cities.
Yeah.
Right, we have enough to cover this.
We have enough to
This
cover
was
it.
in our 5-year plan, correct?
Okay.
Right.
The streets that we talk about in doing this, we discussed earlier, previous meetings, based on our budget meetings before. So none of that is any new material with what the plans are. and the streets are chosen based on the, if you remember, the analysis that we had done over last summer in which streets need the major work. So that part is all the same. We just need the approval to go ahead to IDOT.
Yes.
And that will get the approval at the council meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Any other questions on this? Obviously, take that in the,
We just will have one, one more item at the council meeting, and that will be talking about the South Bluff Road. But we want to cover that on television time.
okay.
So the citizens can see that.
Bob, anything else you want to handle here? Okay. Well, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Council meeting at 7:30.